Welcome to another spoiler review episode.
Welcome to the spoiler review of the Denis Villeneuve directed movie Prisoners, starring Hugh Jackman and Jake Gyllenhaal. We discuss the themes, the symbolism, and the dark storytelling. All that after we chat about the Zeitgeist of 2013 and have a poem by Tales of the Nook. That's true. A film we've actually all three of us have seen, which is a rare thing, and we've all watched this week, I believe. Is that right?
It's burnt into my brain.
Yeah, and James watched it this week as well. He's nodding, which for you guys at home, he's just nodding. So Prisoners, if you're not aware of it, it's the 2013 film that came out starring Hugh Jackman, Jake Gyllenhaal, Viola Davis, Terrence Howard, Paul Dano, and David Dastmalchian, one of the earliest roles I remember him in, and directed by Denis Villeneuve, who did Enemy, Sicario, Arrival,
Dunes.
Blade Runner, Dune, and Dune Part 2. And he actually said that he gave Jake Gyllenhaal the role in Prisoners purely because he had so much fun with him on the set of Enemy. That was it. Like that, just because out of fun. He wasn't even sure he could do the role or not. He just had him for fun. But before we get into it, a couple of things. What was in the zeitgeist of 2013? Do you guys remember what you were doing in 2013?
Yeah.
Cool. Drew?
I tried to get a screenplay into Blue Cat, I think, because I was so inspired by Prisoners was written by somebody that won the Blue Cat competition.
Don't know what that is. Just the writing.
It's like a massive screenwriting festival, and perfect example is scripts that have won have gone on to do very well, and he was the writer of Prisoners. Yeah, went on to writing Prisoners essentially.
Nice.
And then it getting made by Hollywood and having huge stars. And
you should keep writing stuff like that. You never know. I listened to like the podcast Smartless, and they talk about they've had directors on, and they've had more than one director on that they've said that they just get sent so many screenplays they don't read that many, but every now and again one will come across the desk that is interesting or different, and they'll make it, and it's just by some kid in Arkansas they don't know about, and they have to buy the rights to it. So,
I hope that he's doing all right in Arkansas, or he's moved maybe, I don't know.
You never know. So in the zeitgeist of 2013, it was the death of Nelson Mandela.
Ooh.
There was quite a few deaths. A couple of them we don't give a shit about, but a few bad ones. Peter O'Toole died.
Ooh.
Paul Walker from the Fast and Furious franchise died.
Yeah.
And James Gandolfini died that year.
Gandalf died?
No, James Gandolfini.
Oh, that's it. So he's still wizarding around.
But the couple we don't care about, one's political.
Oh.
So maybe I shouldn't be so horrible. A person died, that's a bad thing. But
Always.
She did a lot of bad things. Her name was Margaret Thatcher.
She also got involved with Mr. Whippy ice cream, so every cloud on that lot.
Okay. And the one we can all equivalently say we're happy about was Jimmy Savile died.
We weren't happy at the time, though, if you remember.
Oh.
It was only after the fact.
Oh, apologies. I'm not sure if it was his death. It was when the report was published on what he had done. So that's the year we knew for a fact.
That's when we thought we shouldn't have been sad.
He was but also I was going to say on a positive note, but on another negative note, it was a bad year.
He should have gone to prison, which is a link to Prisoners. He should have gone to prison.
He should have. He used to visit people. I won't go into that, but he did visit people in prison. He shouldn't have. The Boston Marathon bombing happened in the news.
Oh.
Not one of my favourite ones, but it was top 10.
Oh my god! It was the film Mark Wahlberg did about that was really good.
Well, actually, I thought it was Jake Gyllenhaal was in one where it was Stronger, which was to do with the marathon explosion.
Oh, that was the repercussions of just one man who had got his legs done. But Mark Wahlberg did one where he's a police officer trying to hunt him down before he did it.
Oh wow, okay.
Really good. It was a really exciting film. Ian Watkins from Lost Prophets got sentenced. So
It was quite a dark year, man. So
it was a
Prisoners kind of
very, very dark year. Lucky
fits in
James
well
has
for
got
the
to take his
zeitgeist.
phone call from his son, otherwise he would have said something really inappropriate.
Yeah.
The other few things that
What's the
happened
size
that
of his phone? Could we just say, like, is it Honey, I Blew Up the Phone? I know it's an iPad. I know it's an iPad.
other couple of things that happened was twerking was kind of invented.
What is that again?
When
Where
you're
you spin?
shaking your bum.
Oh, yeah.
And that was invented because that was the year that Miley Cyrus Wrecking Ball came out, and Blurred Lines, that Robin Thicke and Pharrell
Oh, it
Williams
became very
song.
controversial because
And
it was the Me Too stuff, wasn't it? It was like
yeah, it wasn't that year though. That came out years later. But that's the one
the
Miley
idea of the
Cyrus.
lyrics that the women didn't like is you want it.
Yeah, but again, I don't think that was highlighted for years afterwards. Um,
But
but
they were still
then
dancing to it.
exactly. But that year, that's when Miley Cyrus did the twerk on stage at the MTV Awards
But she
with
did the
Robin
twerk
Thicke.
on the ball as it was flying through.
No, she did Blurred Lines. She sang with Blurred Lines.
Oh,
It wasn't good. It was really embarrassing. And Katy Perry did Roar. And in the rock charts, Biffy
balls.
Clyro Opposites album, they had the Black Chandelier song that came out.
There's a lot of swinging from things, wasn't there, in music videos?
Yeah. And Thrift Shop by Macklemore was number one. Don't know that song. Not my kind of stuff.
Couldn't tell you, man.
Anyway, that was a lot of information. And now he's on a phone call. Maybe now is a good time to do your poem before we start. Or
But
should
then
I do
probably
the
if
intro?
he comes back, if he comes back, guys, I'm back. Like halfway through, like in the middle of my, we could try it. It's fun. We'll see what happens. It could be a car
Well,
crash.
you're going to MC it. You're going to MC it anyway. Well, let's pause for a second. Let's give James a second to come back. But I forgot to look up something. A new thing I want to add to, like, when we do these spoiler reviews, apart from doing what's in the Zeitgeist, poem by Drew, if he has time, is also look at like the reviews, like that year. Like, we love Prisoners Now. Was it a hit when it came out? You know,
That's cool, man. I
like
like that.
Aliens was a flop, and
Yeah, did it
Spring
become
was
like
flop.
a cult classic? Like as time went on, and
Yeah. Even Jaws. I was listening to a podcast today, and they were talking about Jaws. That was a flop. Well, not a flop. It was a mega successful hit, but the reviews were savage.
but mate, I just realised you forgot to say one of the key ingredients of Prisoners. It's the
Haven't said anything yet.
cinematographer is Roger Deakins.
From, I know the name.
Mate, he did Sicario. He's done loads of things, man. Roger Deakins is like. Sometimes I watch films if they're DP'd by him because you know they're going to be stunning. He did Skyfall. He's done loads of stuff, man.
Oh yeah, 1917 as well. That
Yeah.
was quite good. No Country for Old Men.
Yeah.
Yeah, Blade Runner, the new one.
Seriously, it gets to the stage where if you know a really good cinematographer, if you see if a film is DOP'd by them, at least it's going to look stunning. Do you know what I mean? Regardless of how well directed or acted it is. But normally, Roger Deakins comes on to really decent projects, or at least he brings his A game every time. Man, he's incredible.
Nice. Well, I'll do the. Is James back?
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt the show. Just a reminder to say we love and appreciate you all for listening to the podcast, whether it's on Spotify, Apple, or Amazon. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, follow, as this really helps us continue to progress and improve the content and keeps us making these fun episodes for you guys. Oh, we're also on these things called Instagram and TikTok. You can follow us there too, as we share short, funny reels on the reg that you can share with friends if you like. Now, back to the mayhem.
Cool. I'll give the synopsis, and then we're going to have a special treat by Drew. So, Prisoners. The protagonist is Hugh Jackman, called Keller Dover. He's facing every parent's worst nightmare. His 6-year-old daughter Anna is missing, together with her friend Joy. And as minutes turn to hours, panic sets in. The only lead is an RV that's been parked on their street. Will they find the children before it's
Yeah.
too late?
Yes. One of them.
Well, that's the spoiler review done. If you don't want to watch anymore, that's the ending there. But anyway, we've set Drew a task, and he's done really well, I think. But time shall tell. He has written a poem about prisoners. Follow his Tales of the Nook on Instagram if you like it. But his poem's a touch too long, so he's going to MC it. He's going to try and get it under 80 seconds. So, what's it called? Over to you, Drew.
And I'm going to try and score a goal on FIFA in 80 seconds.
I think your job might be a bit easier than mine. I'm trying to do 284 words in 80 seconds. And the piece is called Compassionate Cage. Here we go. We're all macabre, lost in mazes now scarred. Children missing for days. Fear feasts on me in strange ways. Drowning, pills to cure pain. Drowning in alcohol to derail this train. Tears from heaven with its biblical rain. Hitting hard. We're prisoners of our own minds for a start, trapped in cells with subconscious guards. Mind maps created that mesmerize, taking the law into my own hands as I realize. Detectives search through a lack of clues and failed interviews. Strange figures break into homes, fake blood on kids' bloody clothes. A maze unfinished as his brain blows. Red stains interview walls, catching a bullet to hide the truth. Detective with a hunger to pursue. A child trapped inside that batter boy's mind that's now black and blue. Youth unrecognized, broken bones and bruises are hidden behind, face caved in like a hammer to a sink as ceramics fly. I turn to God and pray for help with no replies. Starved of opportunity to feel hope as I'm denied, escape guilt by becoming emotionally blind, held hostage from frustration and rage. This darkness escapes me, finding weakness in my compassionate cage. Blood on my hands as God watches, snakes creep out of cryptic boxes, mazes across wallpaper. We lose sight of God, hoping it'll return later. Lead us not into temptation and deliver us from evil as we forgive those that trespass against us. Darkness finds me deep underground as my heart turns cold. Ice transforms nature into glass, so I'm told. A crime scene packing up as my world comes crashing down. I'll keep blowing this red whistle until I'm found.
Woo! I think you smashed that.
I've got that head rush, man.
So listen to that back, guys, and put it at half speed, and you'll enjoy it. But that was impressive.
Feck me.
You didn't stumble over nothing.
Jeez. Not
I
bad
scored
for
2 goals.
not for a man with dyslexia. Well, congratulations, James. You did really well.
I'm joking. The TV's not even turned on.
We were listening intently.
Thanks for the support, kids.
Always to listen but not watch.
That's all right. No, it's like, when you got friends in the front row and you're performing, you're like, oh, it just makes you nervous. It's great. I was able to just look at my trusty phone and hope for the best.
I think that rhymed. Or you said it in the way of a rhyme.
Oh, wow, I don't know.
So anyway, let's get into Prisoners. Who wants to start? What was your first thoughts, if you remember when you first saw it or when you saw it recently? What was the biggest takeaways?
It is good. It is good. Yeah.
That's good.
Cool.
Good. Yeah, the ending's kind of mixed. Yeah, it's a kind of bittersweet ending because like they do find the one girl obviously, and they're digging for the other, and they kind of give up, didn't they? And then she walks away and you hear the whistle, or he walks away and you hear the whistle, and you're like, oh, okay. But you almost, in a weird way, like have the balls to end it like sad.
So we're going straight for the fucking. We're starting with the end.
Wow.
Yeah, and then working back to the ends. The beginning is the best bit. Like the end isn't as good as the beginning.
Then why did you talk about the end then?
Get out of the way.
Well, anyway,
Well, maybe we should have some structure.
the beginning, I thought, like when I first watched it, I thought it was quite clever. And I don't know if this was a choice, and it'd be fascinating to see if it was on like a commentary. So when they're about to shoot the deer, you've got the father and the son, but the way it's shot, it looks like the person shooting is the dad, because they look slightly bigger in the frame, and they've kind of got wide shoulders, and it looks like the dad is teaching the son how to shoot the deer, which is what I thought. But what's clever is you then see a fist punch the boy in the shoulder as the boy turns round, and it's the dad congratulating the son on shooting the deer, which I think is a clever flip. Did anyone else notice that?
Yeah, I know what you mean. I know what you mean. And that's it, because like the little girl later on, when they go for, what is it? No, yeah, the little girl
They go to the meal.
comments about she doesn't like the fact he's killed a deer. He's like, well, you don't feel bad for the burger you were just at.
At McDonald's,
type of thing.
yeah. No, it's a clever little perspective on, well, again, society, that we're quick to judge someone that does something that takes kind of bravery and something to do with nature and in, nature, as opposed to someone just ordering something off a menu, but yet that thing was still killed for your satisfaction. So that's
go
quite
vegan,
clever.
man. Go vegan.
But also, I love the shot where you've got the dead deer on the back of the car as it's driving through, and you've kind of just got it like shaking in the back as it's like going over bumpy roads, and it's just, this is the kill. This is their hunt, right? And the film is about hunting, because they're trying to hunt for the children. So there's loads of clever little similes.
Well, that's it. Like, I'm sure everyone's seen it that's listening to this anyway, but just to remind people that like Hugh Jackman's character, he's like a doomsday preparer. Like, his cellar is full of guns and food and supplies. Like, he's a prepper. He wants to make sure that he's prepared for absolutely any eventuality.
Yeah,
and
Armageddon.
the one he doesn't expect is his daughter to go. And what I like about it is the film does not mess around. I'm sure under 10 minutes that kid is gone.
Oh yeah,
it's pretty quick.
It's straight away.
Literally, they set up the premise of the dad kind of prepping his son, and he's saying, you need to be prepared. Like, I'm glad you pulled the trigger today, son. I'm proud of you, because you need to be prepared. Like, life isn't going to wait for you. And he was saying, I think he talks about food banks and stuff, and he literally says a bit like what you were saying, Kev, that he says everyone's fine until there's a crisis, and he says people are quick to turn on each other and they'll eat their young. Do you know what I mean? He's like, you got to be ready for this. And then they literally go for a meal. They're invited next door down the road, and then they go for that meal.
I think this was good. They kind of had to not shoehorn, because it works really well, but we want the action to happen so quickly that you can't really build up a likability of the characters that quick normally. But because it's a family with another family in their house around the corner, it's different ethnicities, which I think is deliberate as well, to show that
diversity.
People are so lovely. They get on with everyone, different age ranges. They got two little daughters, and they're really good friends. And I think that's what quickly makes you realize, oh, these are good people. As long as you know they're good people, that's all that matters.
But
How
also,
old are you girls meant to be again?
About 6.
Yes, we're thrown out terrible parenting. Terrible parenting.
Well, they're in a safe part of America, and they're going next door.
Doesn't matter. They're on a road.
Well, no, but the kids actually, no, that's a really good point. The kids ask permission from both parents if they can just go back. I think they want to go back to her house to look at the hamster.
Yeah, and to collect something, but the son, the older son, who's a teenager, is in that house already. So they say, go and see your brother. He's just across the road. So it should be a safe thing to do.
Jerry and Kate McCann level parenting right there.
Well, I don't know. I think that's fairly safe. You can't mollycoddle everything.
It is not safe. Would you let? I won't let Reeve cross the road on his own.
Not in America. Definitely not in America. But this is like
not
a
even here.
Fence, like family area. Like someone stopped them to get.
It's Thanksgiving as well, isn't it? Because it's quite a quiet little suburban area, and everyone's
very quiet. You don't see anyone else about. No one else answers their door, and they go banging on it.
Yeah,
they think it's a bit of a creepy area.
Yeah, they didn't need to pay for extras.
When you think about it, it's a bit sketchy. It's really quiet, really sort of like remote.
Just a massive RV pulling up with creepy music playing.
Yeah, there's been a sketchy up. Well, it's like
that song is creepy as well, because when they play like happy music, which again I think, well, who was the first person to do that? They create like happy music, like forget your troubles, come on, get happy. The Lord's waiting, and like it's like a happy song, but it's done in such a dark tone that it's the kind of polarity. Really eerie.
A lot of the old horrors have done that, and they like circus style horrors or clown style horrors.
Yeah,
cheery music. Yeah.
It's that idea that music in the RV is creepy as hell.
Yeah, and did you know a little tidbit? His name Keller Keller is Hugh Jackman's character. That's his first name. Weird name. It's German. In German, it means, well,
Father.
James, you speak German a little bit, don't you?
Not to that extent, no.
Keller means cellar or basement, and
Oh,
that's where his supplies are, and it's where the children end up.
oh, that's deep. That's cool.
That must be deliberate. No one's just
So
called Keller.
if only he thought that, he might be like, wait, my name might have some symbolism here to where my children are.
Yeah, but
Just-
I mean, but the RV that it was that bit when the RV kind of is there. It's so obvious that it would be someone to do with the RV, and then when you meet Paul Dano, who has got the intelligence of he's like a 30-year-old man, but he's got the intelligence
Yeah,
of
like a
10-year-old.
6-year-old. Yeah, 10.
And he's clearly
Well, but that's clever though, because again, spoilers, you find out later on that he was the actual kid that was stolen from that other mum that went, he's not here, he's just missing. He's just
because
nowhere.
the woman calls it her nephew or something.
And they've
stolen
actually
child.
adopted him. So even when she touches him, he's so like cut off emotionally that he's so traumatized by his past that's affected his
And
mental
that's the
health.
scariest bit that because I forgot the ending. Like James said, I forgot the ending. So I was watching it. I knew all about Paul Dano. I knew about beating him up and taking him prisoner and all that sort of stuff. But I was like, we know it's not him. So who the fuck is it? I forgot entirely. But that bit when Paul Dano's character, who's in the RV, who's set free from jail because the police deem him innocent or not enough evidence.
Yeah.
Hugh Jackman goes up to him and grabs him. I'm innocent. I'm a free man. He's a free man. I'm just going to have a word. And grabs him, and he falls to the ground. And Paul Dano goes, "They cried when I left.
No, they didn't cry until I left them.
They didn't cry until I left them." And you're like, oh, he is the bad guy. But then you realize later on that he was probably the only one keeping them safe and company.
Yeah, he's trying to help them. Yeah.
And then when Hugh Jackman steals him to try and find it, that's when the kids cry because they don't have a friend. They've just
and it
got
makes
that
it
scary
worse.
lady.
It almost makes it worse for the situation for the kids. Yeah,
Yeah, but
because they've lost their ally in Paul Dano's character. But hang on, let's jump back as well though. Like I love, again, great dialogue. It's a very fun film and great kind of like one-liners here and there. Like you've got Jake Gyllenhaal's character, the detective Loki, which again can't be there's got to be some symbolism there with Loki.
Well, Loki means in
Devil, right?
Nordic is to protect. It protects children.
Oh,
it's
really?
A child protector is what it means. Which
That's weird though, because Loki's the baddie in the Thor things. Anyway, I don't want to go down that road.
because Odin tried to protect a child and failed. His dad. Someone else tried to protect a certain child and failed, and Loki is the one that's tasked with protecting a child.
Wow, okay. But that, again, that's cool as fuck then, because then that's connected to the storyline as well. With
one thing that was quite confusing about the film when you first watch it is the speed in which you're introduced to them. The kidnapping happens, they find the RV, and they arrest the guy and they question him. It's like really fast, isn't it? It's not like it takes an hour and a half for it to do that. It's like instant almost, and the rest of the film is like after the fact.
But that's kind of what we love. Like the pacing is really cool, and that's what I mean about you've got Loki at the Chinese place, and he's ordering food, and he's like, "Do you think you could get your what is it?" She says something. They're talking about the different kind of animals in that kind of culture, and she says something like,
"She's monkey."
Yeah, she's monkey or something. And then he's like, "Do you think you could get him to take some money off the?" And she's like, "You can't. He's a lizard or something." And then he reads off what it means. Or snake or something. I can't remember what it is now. Or dragon. I can't remember. Anyway, but the point is, the storytelling there is really cool, and you see a kind of playful side to Loki. That he's like, "Do you think you could charm your manager to discount the bill?" It's a great little moment. But yeah, like you said, then it's just so beautifully shot, and it's so atmospheric that when he comes out, and then you've got the RV, and then all the police pull up, and then he just drives through the woods, and you almost think he's been speared by a branch. You're like, what the hell's going on? And then you've got Jake Gyllenhaal's character pulling out his gun, going through the rain, and it's just so atmospheric. He's got his hood up, and he's like, "Get out of the car, get out of the vehicle now." It's just, it's so cool, man.
I did look up errors with the film. This film's got so many errors and continuity fuck ups all the way through.
Oh, really?
Tons. Like the RV crashes into a tree. When it's in the police thing, there's not a dent on that on that car at the front at all on that RV. Like
Oh, but I thought
zero.
it just went through the windscreen though. It didn't actually damage the
Yeah, but
bottom. It just
it
went.
crashed into a tree. You would have a dent bumper minimum.
Oh,
But there's loads. There's loads of stuff like they say the wrong place. He says the wrong address. The address is behind him on the wall, and he says a different number.
oh, really?
There's loads of stuff that he's in the rain. The camera turns. There's no rain. The camera turns. There's rain again. There's
What?
lots of things like that.
Wow.
But the thing you were mentioning is really interesting because I found this bit where it goes. There's a number of references to the Zodiac, both the Zodiac serial killer and the Chinese astrology throughout the film. When Detective Loki, Jake Gyllenhaal, is eating Chinese food at the restaurant, the waitress says her Chinese zodiac is monkey. Her boss's Chinese zodiac is the rooster. By
Rooster.
coincidence, Hugh Jackman and Jake Gyllenhaal are both born the year of the monkey and rooster, respectively.
Wow.
How random. That's
That is crazy.
1968 and 1980. And then when Detective Loki opens the locked crates in Bob Taylor's house,
With the
snakes
snakes.
are found inside. The Prisoners, which was released in 2013, is the year of the snake.
Ah, that's
Jake
cool.
Gyllenhaal also starred in The Zodiac in 2007. Both this film and The Zodiac involve a serial killer as a major plot point. So it's like, I love all these little random
Well,
connections.
when I was watching Prisoners, I really wanted to buy the book. You know, when he's talking about the unfinished I can't remember the name of the book that the policeman says, "Oh, it's just from this book." It's like the whole point is the guy never finishes the book. It's an uncompletable maze, and I was like, "Oh, if that book exists, I'd love to read it." It sounded like an incredible novel that the serial killer was reading, or whatever, or the
I don't know that one.
the pedophilic character was, which is again the guy from Late Night with the Devil that James I'm sure would know, and he was
David
in
Despanchian.
yeah, and he was in Blade, and he was in The Dark Knight. Like he's done some great stuff, and he's in Oppenheimer as well, actually.
Yeah. Well, to go to James's point about the pace of the film, without looking, can you guess roughly the length of the film?
Hour 46.
Brilliant.
189 minutes.
Say it in normal words.
I don't know.
189
1 hour 40.
minutes. That's 3 hours.
Oh, is it?
That's 3 hours 10 minutes.
Oh
An
yeah,
hour and 46.
Drew, in hours.
2 hours and 2 minutes.
Okay, it's 2 hours and 33 minutes. That is a
Wow,
long ass film.
That's a marathon.
But it's not, is it? It fucking
No.
flies.
Yeah.
Like you say, in the first half an hour, we've discovered everything. And then after that, it's Hugh Jackman stealing Paul Dano, thinking he's the mastermind when he's clearly a 10-year-old, disabled.
We always thinking the same
child.
thing, though.
Yeah, but what's crazy about the film, which I love, is the kind of polarity. So everyone becomes prisoners, essentially. That's what's clever. It's his kids are prisoners. He's now imprisoned a different person in the bathroom. He's imprisoned with his own thoughts. Loki, you get the idea that Loki has got some kind of dark past, maybe connected with the priesthood.
By the way, could you just say the priest randomly just knocking out bodies? That bit got me off guard.
Yeah, that was crazy, especially
When he goes to the priest's house and he's pissed out, he's drunk on the floor, and he opens his cellar, and it's like, what's going on there? It's like a body in the. It's like, well,
Did you see do you see the Seven link though, where Morgan Freeman finds a thing on the floor and then he moves the fridge? But this time Loki sees that the plug socket is stretched to within an inch of its life. You're like, the plug shouldn't be that stretched, and then he pulls the fridge back and goes, "Fuck."
Yeah, that was just kind of out of the blue, wasn't it? That was like, okay.
Yeah, but that was cool though when he jumps down there and he finds that necklace on the dude that's down there on the corpse with the maze. But again, this is the thing that Jake Gyllenhaal was saying. He was saying that he had to make his character like slow and slightly kind of like damaged. Like he's not quite as intuitive and on it as he should be, because he's saying otherwise there'd be a massive flaw in the film, because he's already found the massive clue around the guy's neck. And it's not till later on when he's looking through the photos when he smashes the keyboard. No, it's not that bit. He knocks the car off the desk and it lands on the photos that are spread across. And then he sees the maze. Then he sees the necklace on the dead guy and he goes,
connections.
It all makes sense.
Honestly, there's a few flaws. Like, I think this film's brilliant. I think, in a weird way, the film's flawless, even though there are flaws in it, because it's an amazing entertaining
ride.
film.
It's an
But-
incredible ride, isn't
But
it?
the two things that I was screaming at the TV when I was watching it this week was that if I'd kidnapped Paul Dano, and he's clearly got the mental age of a younger person, and he's clearly not well, and he's not giving me anything, and you've beat the living, he's barely got an eyeball left, like he's fucked.
He looks like a
I-
watermelon.
I would be thinking, irrelevant of us knowing what happened, but prior to that, I'd be thinking like, I need to let this guy go, because the longer I hold him and I'm getting nothing, is he the one that's feeding them and keeping them alive? I need to let him go and follow him. That's what I would need to do. And what was the other thing I was going to say? Something about what I don't think I would have trusted my neighbors bringing
that was crazy.
Viola
Yeah,
Davis in. That was dangerous. And Jake Gyllenhaal, apparently, this is the other flaw, in my opinion. Jake Gyllenhaal apparently watched over 100 hours of interrogation techniques from the police to get into character.
right.
And then when he's got Paul Dano in the room,
Who did? Jake Gyllenhaal.
yeah, Jake Gyllenhaal. But then when he's in the room with Paul Dano, he just grabs him and starts to try and fight him. It's like,
I was about to say, that wasn't
What are you
really
doing?
tactics at all.
No police officer does that. What are you doing?
Well, that happened in True Detective, though. He grabs him and throws him against the wall because he's
Yeah,
frustrated.
but that's fiction, Drew.
Yeah,
Happens in Batman as well.
He's watched 100 hours of
but
real.
it might have said in the script, frustrated, he slams him into the wall. Like, it doesn't
but
matter.
if you
how
watch any
research-
police things, you can't do shit like that.
No, I know you're not allowed to do that. He even says later on, though, the kind of head, I don't know who the head is in a police, the chief, constable or whatever, he even calls him out on it and says, that shit isn't going to fly or whatever.
And he's useless as well, because Jake Gyllenhaal goes, "Are you following him?" And he goes, "I didn't put anyone on it." And he went, "If you tell me if you're going to do it, I'll do it."
Yeah.
Since you guys just mentioned Batman, do you want a really tenuous link? Like, not a very good one.
We love tenuous links at the Rage.
I mean, it's so far-fetched, but
Jake Gyllenhaal watched Batman.
Jake Gyllenhaal auditioned for Batman.
no.
No, he actually did.
When Paul Dano confesses that he is not Alex, which turns out to be true because he's actually the other kid, Kelly Dover replies by demanding, so Hugh Jackman replies by demanding that he tells him no more riddles. Dano would go on to play the Riddler in Batman.
Hey, nice.
I didn't even catch that. So Paul Dano, he actually says to Hugh Jackman, "I'm not who you think I am," because Paul Dano's character is Alex.
Yeah. He's an enigma.
And he goes, "I'm not Alex."
Yeah.
And he's like, "What? No more riddles? What are you on about?" Because he's not
Edward
Alex. It's a fake
Nygma.
name.
Yeah.
Do you know what film comes to mind every time I watch this film, and the same vice versa every time I watch the other film, which is kind of along the same lines? You've both probably seen The Lovely Bones?
Yes.
Stanley Tucci not being a generic gay person.
There is a connection there as well.
For me, they're very similar films, set in a similar time, similar kind of very different films, but I think they're along the same kind. One's just more aggression thrown from Hugh Jackman. The other one is more intrigue coming from the sister.
Well, do you want to link to Deadpool and Wolverine? Because it's another film where Hugh Jackman punches cars. Because in Prisoners,
I mean, that's weak as well.
he hits the
That might be
steering.
worse.
He
That's
hits the
the film where
steering wheel.
Hugh Jackman is also in and angry.
Yeah, he hits the steering wheel like, "Find my daughter." But in Deadpool and Wolverine, he punches the top of the car, so he's just finding a different place.
The Lovely Bones could exist in the same universe, though.
Here we go. Hugh
Ooh.
Jackman portrays a father whose daughter is kidnapped and missing in this film. He was originally attached to play a similar role in The Lovely Bones, but dropped out. The role was filled by Mark Wahlberg, who at one point was attached to play the Reed role in Prisoners. So
Yeah.
they could have been the other way around.
Well, it
I
was
think it would
supposed
have
to be.
worked either way.
Well, guys, it was supposed to be Christian Bale and Marky Mark originally.
Christian Bale's too scary, though.
Do you
Well,
know?
I-
Go full Patrick Bateman.
I don't know if Christian Bale was playing Keller Dover or if he was playing Loki, but it might actually maybe it was Keller.
Yeah, so yeah, you're right. So Mark Wahlberg and Christian Bale originally was going to be the Hugh Jackman role, and then they both ended up doing The Fighter that year.
Yep. which is
and
an amazing movie.
what was the other one? So other I love these bits. Ryan Gosling auditioned for the Jake Gyllenhaal part.
No ways.
DiCaprio, Leo, was attached to this film originally at the early stages, but dropped out. We don't know what part he was going to play.
Wow.
I think Ryan Gosling could have been good if he went full Drive style.
Yeah, and Timothy Chalamet auditioned. I'm guessing
How old was
probably
he at the time?
That's for Paul Dano.
he would have been like a teenager. I'm guessing.
For the
So
thing,
I'd,
yeah.
it doesn't say, but I'm
The
guessing
brother? I
Paul
reckon
Dano.
the brother.
Oh yeah, it could have been the kid.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
it could
Probably
have been
the
the
brother,
son.
yeah. He would have been way too young to play that Paul Dano guy.
Because
He would have been like a
kid was
young
the one-
teenager.
That kid was the one from 13 Reasons. I mean, it kind of Prisoners put him on the map. He was pretty good with his
That is
scenes
an
that he had.
amazing program. Have you ever watched that, Kev? 13 Reasons.
No, thank you.
It's amazing. It's also one
I
of the
wouldn't say
most.
amazing, but it's
At the
entertaining. for the
beginning,
wrong
the
reasons.
first few episodes is very teeny bopper,
Yeah,
blah blah blah. But once you get to the grit of it, and especially the last few episodes,
hard. It's a hard watch.
hard to watch.
Yeah,
It's hard to watch.
yeah.
They've cut
It's
it now.
raw.
They've cut it. They've edited it in hindsight.
Yeah, I bet.
So there's a lot of scenes they've taken out.
Yeah, I bet they
And
have.
it's like it's a tough one.
It's about teenage suicides because it's very, very tricky.
It's it's also one of the most clever things ever written. Like the whole thing is about she's already dead and they're listening to these cassettes that she's left for them each.
Mm.
It's so clever, and it's like the whole program is a flashback. It
Yeah.
starts at the end and then goes back
It
to the
is clever.
beginning.
It is clever.
So it finishes and she's already dead, kind of thing. You know that. It's like,
Yeah.
Oh, speaking
Spoiler
just quickly,
for that TV series there as well. So
just speaking of great programs, which I don't know if you've seen or not, but have you heard of the movie Threads? I think I mentioned it.
No,
No.
I mean this is more. What's that? What relevance is this to this film?
Well, it's not, but just why I think of bringing it up is it's on BBC iPlayer now.
We're not discussing random things.
No, but after
Part of the
you should
spoiler
watch
review,
it.
we do that
It's
in
from the
normal episodes.
80s. It was
Remember
banned for 20 years. So
Threads.
for 20 years, it wasn't allowed to be shown on British broadcasting. But it's about like nuclear war. You should watch it. It's amazing.
Yeah, I know what one you mean. Yeah, we mentioned that before actually.
Filmed in the
let's
80s,
talk
but
about-
it looks like it's pulled straight out of a news report from the 30s.
let's talk about great action moments, though. You know when there's some cool chases in this film. There's some cool car chases.
I really want to go and watch it at the cinema.
Oh mate, I saw Prisoners in the cinema. It was feckin' incredible. Like that bit at the end, for example, when Jake Gyllenhaal's got blood all going down there, and it also looked like in real life that he actually got the corn serum fake blood in his eye because it all like filled his eye, and he looked like he was in absolute agony when he's driving. But it just adds another layer to it, unless it is all real. But as he's bleeding and you got the blue flashing light and he's looking back at the girl ODing, and it's so tense as he's like trying to drive one-eyed.
I think for me, this film falls into the box of movies that include
Rewatchable. It's 7. It's up there with 7.
include the word seven. Well, 7, yeah.
Well,
Gritty crime that some people might think is a bit much.
That scene
Psychological
where he's driving
thriller,
in the blurry rain.
Yeah.
That's another mess up as well. He drives past the same restaurant 3 times.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
It's 'cause he's got
There's
one
a
eye.
few
You
things
can't-
out there where they use the
You
same
can't tell what
scene
he's
twice.
doing. You can't see.
No, it's not Jake Gyllenhaal's driving. It's the
No,
camera.
I know.
But
I know.
But, yeah,
It's
yeah.
'cause we didn't
Oh.
have enough road to film on. I don't know. But
I love the fact we've got almost 40 minutes in and none of us have mentioned the cliche scene, because I don't even think it's as good as half the rest of the film. I think someone made a clip of it on social media and that's all everyone can think about. But the hammer on the sink scene where he smashes the hammer
yeah.
and he's got Paul Dano pinned against the wall. Yeah, it's good, but there's so many other
Where's
better
my
scenes.
daughter? Where's
The
my
only thing that's interesting about that is that was ad-libbed. Denis Villeneuve said more aggression, and that's what Hugh Jackman came up with.
I'll be fine. Wouldn't you use your other actors? Shat yourself. If you were that
Paul
close to that
Dano,
hammer and he starts going mental.
Paul Dano did not even blink. He didn't even. This is not slamming. This is not pinning him by the throat with one hand, slamming the hammer on a sink and smashing it while screaming and spitting in his face. Yeah. It's the hammer right next to his head that just skimmed his ear.
Yeah.
And he dug it into the wall. he did that for real. He fucking
Wouldn't
just
it have
slammed
been
the
funny
hammer
though
into
if
the
that was a
wall.
blooper and afterwards they went, he like put the hammer and he went, started laughing or something. It'd be
I've
like the
got a
worst
feeling that was a
blooper.
film where people did not laugh that much.
No, it was a
I bet he
dark
was
day.
scared if someone was coming at him with a hammer because that looked like
Yeah,
a
but
real hammer.
no, but at one point he puts his hand on the tap because it looks like he wants to break his hand or the fingers. And
Yeah.
it's like it goes proper into like yeah, like you're saying, torture territory, and then boiling him or ice cold water, like it goes into some really dark places. Like
It pushes down a Reservoir Dogs line. It goes like borderline Tarantino at some parts.
But then again, that bit's really clever. Sorry, hang on. When we're kind of ahead of a character, so Loki is trying to find Keller, and then Keller knows he's trying to find him because something happens and he hears the car pull up outside. So then he pretends he's drunk and he lies across the newspapers, and then he's like, show me around the place. And he's like, I just do this because I don't want my wife to see me drunk because I'm a failure and I can't find my daughter. This is where I go to kind of, fight my demon sort of thing. And then he cracks a joke and says, I'm not going to find a child here, am I? And he's like, go fuck yourself or whatever. And then they go upstairs. And again, this idea of clever interconnecting storylines. When he's about to check the bathroom, he gets a phone call from the girl from the shop and he picks up and the girl says, that guy, I got his driving license. He's like, give me it right now. And then he says, Dover, go home. Like, and it's like, I love that. And that, for me, that's great writing. You've got the tension building, a moment that happened previously in another part of the story catches up to stop them from being able to interject on to discover what's being hidden, basically.
That's why he's missed things so many times. Like, he's suspicious, but when he catches him going to the off license and Hugh Jackman's character doesn't drink.
But guys, again, that has a very kind of Seven feeling because with the whole van, and they shoot the bottom part of the van before Brad Pitt goes across and gets hit with the crowbar. They do the exact same thing. So you've got the bottom part of the van, and then you hear the burp, 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 and then then it pans around, and then you see, and it looks dodgy because you're like, why is a car stopped and blocking all the other traffic? And then that's when Dover sees, and he's like, oh man, that's a cop. Like, I'm being followed without a doubt. And then he changes his idea.
But and it also shows how good Paul Dano is. Like, his character, again, he says, be quiet when he's actually in that house with them. And he actually is. He just sits there quietly. Whereas if he shouted, he would have been free.
Boy, he's a good torturer. He's a good.
I think the best performance is Paul Dano at number one. Best performance out of everyone.
It is an incredible performance.
It's one of them movies that, like, it's not one of them movies you want to sit quietly and watch. Is it? You want to sit with a bunch of people, like, try and like pick it apart. Like, I think that's there. Like, that's why I'm like with all crime films, action films. I'm happy to sit there and watch it, but crime ones, I'm like, oh,
but again,
you like, get it, don't you?
When we had Lewis on and we were talking about prisons briefly, I was gonna say there was a moment where it's like the bit with Hugh Jackman where he's like, that's her sock. That's her sock. And it's like it's such a funny line, which shouldn't be funny at all because it's a very dark circumstance. But it's the fact he's having to say that line.
Also, why do people always find a sock? It's always a sock, isn't it? Have you never noticed that? One of the hardest items of clothing to fall off. Like, and it's like always a sock.
Like, it's also one of the things that goes missing.
Not a hat.
But it proves it's darker. If you found a child's hat, you'd be on, oh well, they lost it. If you found a child's sock, that child had clothes removed. That makes it darker.
Well, yeah, or they've been taken from somewhere because socks should be in a drawer, right?
But what makes me laugh as well is when kids get taken on these TV shows, their shoes always fly off, like they're like not done up properly. Like, you've noticed that? They always find a shoe. Like, they grabbed one, his shoe fell off. When does that ever happen?
They tie your shoelaces. Kids don't tie their shoelaces.
Poll, any parents ever picked up their kid and their shoes just magically fallen off?
But I take it right. When you watch this, honestly, I've seen it maybe twice before this week, so I've 3 times in total, but I think the first 2 times I saw were like in 2013, 2014. So I haven't seen it for over a decade. Like I said, I forgot apart from the main plot. When I saw David Desmanchian, I was like, oh yeah, he's the killer. And in my head, he was the killer, and the narrative helped me believe that. And I thought he was really good in this very small part.
Yeah.
Do you know what? Say what you want about TikTok, love or hate it. The amount of movies I've been put onto because of it, like Prisons is one of them. Because my TikTok feed has a lot of like movie stuff on there, And I saw that scene of Hugh Jackman hitting the thing a couple of years ago. TikTok's been around a couple of years, hasn't it? Like 2 years, 3 years, two,
You mean
maybe?
so it wasn't Lewis doing it, and it was the
No,
reenactment?
it wasn't Lewis. No, I've only had TikTok for like a couple of years, like maybe two. And I saw that scene of him doing all that. So I was like, what is this film? I wanted to watch it. Same thing goes for the other week. You know, I said I watched Training Day.
Love it.
Because a random clip came up of Training Day where it's Ethan Hawke sat around with them mobsters,
Oh,
and
yeah.
Matey Boy, Denzel Washington's character, leaves him,
Yeah.
and I was like, oh, that's that film I watched ages ago. So little apps like that, and little clips that people make, they're probably making the movies millions, because the amount of little clips, I'll see a clip from a film like 30 seconds, be like, that's cool, I'll save that, go back and try and find out. You have to sometimes go through a few videos to find out what it's called,
Yeah.
and be like, oh, go check that out, what is it? And there's a lot of time it's like these sort of weird obscure movies. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna give that a watch. That was exactly what Prisoners was to me. I saw that one scene of him going mental, I was like,
And that's the
There's
point
let's
of
see what
fun,
this
isn't
is.
it? That
There's some
they've shared
great
that
scenes.
clip so much, but there's so many better scenes than
Yeah,
that.
I was going to say one of
But
my
that one
favorite
gets
scenes.
the most impact because in 30 seconds,
Because it's
that is
raw
the
and
most
emotional.
impactful thing. You're like,
Yeah.
what?
One of my favorite scenes is when Loki and Keller are having that kind of like having it out with each other in the car, and it's raining and then starts snowing for some reason. But that's intense. That's really intense. I love that kind of, they're playing chess, like they're trying to.
Again, it's interesting when it's not interesting, if that makes sense. But it's just two men chatting in a room. It's actually still tense
But
and
that
interesting.
again, mate, that's like we were saying. That's because it's good dialogue. Like if the dialogue wasn't good, it wouldn't be. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I also like the psychological elements to it as well. So when they've got those weird flashbacks, like he's drunk, he's depressed, his wife's popping those pills because she can't sleep because she's obviously worried about her child, and then he falls asleep, and then he has that like ghostly vision of his daughter going, "Daddy, I found my whistle," and she starts blowing it, and then he wakes up to the sound of, and he's like, "Oh." And it's like he's just like falling asleep and just having weird dreams, and there's all that kind of psychological element of what depression and fear and anxiety can do to somebody. And it just kind of takes him over the edge. Like you watch the deterioration, like you're saying at the beginning, strong guy, confident, ready for anything, just gradually just falls off a cliff. Like he's just losing the battle to find his daughter.
Yeah, he's crushed, and you would be too. You panic
But then
stations.
when he takes the law into his own hands and he starts to do things. So when they do find the little girl in the hospital later on, and then they do a clever little flashback, which reminded me of Edgar Wright. When we were talking about Shaun of the Dead, like, and they do a similar thing with the little girl going as she escapes.
Well, that's the scariest bit, because I was going to say, let's talk about the ending, because when they find that little girl, she just happened to randomly escape, and they found her in the woods, and she found help, and she's in hospital, and it's the neighbor's kid, not his kid.
Yeah.
And he's like, what did you say? What did you see? Tell me anything. Tell me anything. And they're all like, give her a break, man.
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't give a fuck. My daughter's still missing.
Yeah.
What did you see? What did you hear? Tell me anything. And she went, you were there. And then he runs away, and everyone's like, did he do it?
Yeah.
Did he do it because he was there? But it's because he visited the lady the day before.
Did you have a split moment, like for a split second, where you thought he might be a little bit bipolar and he's done something he hasn't realized?
I 100% for a second thought, what a twist that would be.
I did as well. Like
I didn't. I was like trying to work out why she said that.
Only for a split second, I thought. I was like, oh.
And it's just because obviously he was there at that woman's house, Paul Dano's auntie, to ask her more questions about the puzzle and stuff like that, wasn't it? And then that her being distracted gave the girl a reason to escape, I think.
Yep.
And then that's why she noticed he was there. And then that's why he clicks and goes back, and he's like pretending to help her.
Yeah, like,
she clicks, she's got her arm in a sling, hasn't she, and a gun in there, and she makes him drink. And for real, when they did the scene, for real, Hugh Jackman took a drink of the drink she gave him, and she, as an actor, she thought he didn't drink enough to make the scene convincing, so she ad-libbed, have some more, drink more.
Wow.
And so he did. and then that was in the final
But
bit
I
because he
love
only
how
took a little sip and it wasn't convincing that he'd be like
out
knocked
of it.
out by that.
Yeah, that's smart. That's smart on her part. But I love how he does it defiantly as well. Like the way he drinks the second bit is almost like saying "f you." Do you know what I mean? Like, how about that then? And it's like, whoa, okay.
Yeah,
Can you imagine her if he did go full Kaiser Sose?
what he
Yeah.
was bad guy.
No, as in like the whole thing is the same premise as Kaiser Sose's character. If he did do it, played the innocent, like blah blah, except an opposite. He's more aggressive. Think Verbal was more innocent, but like they're still like playing the victim,
But then
which he
people,
was.
but the only flaw
And
with
at
that,
the end of it,
sorry,
you'd be like,
the
"Oh
only
my god,
flaw
he's a
is that
real
it's like,
psychopath."
what was the reason behind it? Like, what did he have to gain by? Did he want to act out being a hero?
Yeah.
Has he got a god complex? Why
Well,
would he kidding
no,
people?
He'd be
maybe he
too
was
obvious.
genuinely. Imagine it came out, he was genuinely a serial killer, and all that he did to them other people and that to like he convinced us that he wasn't the killer by doing that sync scene and everything.
What? So he was going to butcher his own daughter and his next door
Yeah.
neighbor.
Well,
Why not?
people do that, but I didn't know. Not
Yeah,
one
I mean,
part of me
I
I
thought
think it
that.
would have been a bit far fetched, but they could have gone there.
It's because it was too obvious, because it's always a family member. That's the first thing. But everyone was together. We saw the kid go away. We saw the kid not come back. So
And we
we're,
also saw
we're privy to it. We know
he was
he's
slightly
innocent.
under the influence at a house party, so it wasn't him.
No, he doesn't drink. He wasn't drinking alcohol.
Oh, was he not?
No, he's teetotal.
Oh, of course he is. Yeah.
So he
Oh.
doesn't drink. He was just socializing with his neighbors and having fun with them. So
okay.
at no point we know that twist is going to happen because we've been with him. He hasn't
Yeah.
left our sides the
Yeah.
entire time. But that woman at the end, that was just really clever. I did think finding the whistle was cheesy, and apparently in the original script, he just dies. He doesn't find a whistle.
Oof.
So I don't know if the whistle was added at the beginning later so we could find it at the end for an alternate ending, or
Yeah.
it was just shoehorned in
the
last
whistle.
minute.
The whistle is mentioned 3 times because you know when they say plant and payoff. So you've got
Yeah.
the flashback at the bit where he's lost his daughter and he's kind of spinning out at home. Then you've got the second part is where they're at the hospital and they've rescued the little girl and she's got the red whistle around her neck. And then Loki says, "Oh, so she found her whistle?" She says, "No, but this is the close enough to it. I still don't think she knows where she left it." Which is the plant and payoff for when he's now digging in the ground and he finds it, which shows that's where they've been hiding when the police did the search.
But that's what I mean, is that was that never intended to be the ending and it just happened to be things they mentioned, or did they add that into the script after they changed the script?
True, that's interesting. But people also said that the police did a terrible search of the area because if they're looking head to toe, top to tail for missing children, the fact there's a random car parked and all you had to do was reverse or move the car, move the wood, look into a hole, which people would do, and you'd see 2 children there, and you'd be like, what are these kids doing in your hole in your garden? Like, don't know. They were trying to help me find some coins. You're like, what?
But I feel like it's a happy ending. I mean, it's left ambiguously a little bit, but Jake Gyllenhaal hears the whistle, so he's going to dig, isn't he?
Yeah.
So
it's lovely, but it's also got that double moment because he does some great acting. For me, that last little moment is brilliant acting when he hears the whistle and thinks, "Nah," and he goes, and then he looks back. You're like, oh, and then it kind of does like an Inception, like it just cuts, and you're like, he's going to find him, like as in he's like a dog with a bone. He's not going to give up. But again, I think it's interesting that he finds his child and then he goes missing. So all the way through the film, someone is always missing, which again, we were saying makes the film interesting because you're always looking for those missing pieces, quite literally. So
no, quality. I just enjoyed visiting it again. Like I said, it's one of those films like Seven that I could probably watch again next week and still be entertained by it.
Yeah, I can watch Seven any day.
Yeah.
I really want to watch The
Prisoners.
Lovely Bones again now.
Yeah. But yeah, you're right. Because even though you know the outcome of Prisoners, like you said, and you know the twists and everything, you still, because of the dialogue, the performances, and the journey. Again, it's not a fun ride because it's kind of edge of your seat, quite anxiety driven. But it's crazy to go on that journey with all of those.
But it's a gripping one. I'll watch a gripping story like
because it's so long, you're bound to miss bits.
That's what I mean.
So when
yes,
you go back,
when you revisit, when you
There's tons I
revisit it,
forgot
you
about.
see. Well, it's like the bit when you know when he finds, or when he opens the boxes with the snakes and he finds the clothes for the children, and then you realize that that guy has been going to shops and buying children's clothes and then butchering pigs and putting pig's blood in with the children's clothes. And it's not until later on when Loki says window was open, when he wrote it in his notes, because she says, you're not going to write this down, and he looks like a detective that doesn't really care. And it's not until he looks at his notes, because again, a great little moment where he's at the house and the guy, after the guy's just blown his brains out, and they're there and there's all the mazes on the walls and stuff, and he says, keep knocking on doors or looking through windows, and the lead detective says that to Loki, who's at that crime scene, and then he says, and it's the windows moment where he flips to his notepad and he sees open windows, and that's when he goes back to the homes, and that's where he finds the sock that James was saying. It's strange when people find random children's clothes in a garden, which it probably is. But yeah, and that's the clever link, basically.
Well, I was just Googling a couple of reviews at the time as well, and it's quite mixed.
I reckon at the time the reviews would have been a bit confused because you didn't get that. It's a very 90s movie.
No, I don't know.
Yeah, it's a very 90s style movie. Think that. What else came out that year? I bet it was CGI heaven.
Well, like The Guardian gives it 3 out of 5, which I think is harsh, but
The Guardian are harsh though normally.
But Forbes give it a really high rating, not a specific rating, but he says Prisoners doesn't just entertain, it matters. So it's an important film, which is really good. Are you looking at films that came out in 2013?
Well, look, that's it. Sorry,
what?
Written by.
Do you know what? 2013 was a very kind of crimey, American Hustle, like.
I mean, it's all over the place. That's when All Hallows Eve, the original Terrifier, came out as well.
Yeah, do you know what, if you look at it, there's nothing like that blows your mind on this list of the entire 2013. If you compare it to last year,
Lockie, the one with
Locke,
what's
Tom Hardy, yeah,
Tom Hardy, that he should have got some things.
Someone said that the other day. He should have been nominated for something for that.
If you pull up the 2013 movies, like compare it to last year, there's no what you would call a AAA title that I can see. Maybe Olympus Has Fallen, but I probably wouldn't have pushed it that far.
No, there's
no AAA, is there? Think I made by AAA, I mean All Singing, All Dancing, Hollywood blockbuster, June, Alien.
The top films, the top grossing films of 2013, and then we'll finish up because we have a guest coming on shortly.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Number 1 is Iron Man 3, Hunger Games: Catching Fire, Despicable Me 2, Man of Steel, Monsters University, Frozen, Gravity, Fast and Furious 6, Star Trek, Thor, World War Z, The Hobbit.
Oh, okay, there's your Hollywood blockbusters then. That was the start.
Conjuring.
That was around the start of the superhero thing. Then, if the first Thor was coming out,
Grown Ups.
I tell you what, Prisoners reminded me of a little
film
bit
like this could easily got swallowed up and all that.
No, it was Thor number 2, The Dark World.
So see, that's what I mean. A film that was in the middle of the big special effects superhero boom. So, and also the Pixar boom was coming back with Despicable Me and that. So that film could have easily got swallowed up into like. People
it's a different world.
Think if it came out the same week as Despicable Me or Thor, it would have been forgotten, wouldn't it?
Well, I was going to say, when you wrap up, after you
I was going to say it reminds me of kind of elements of True Detectives in a kind of noir,
it's very True Detective,
noir-esque kind of bravado of characters. And
if that was called True Detective the movie, you wouldn't have questioned it.
Yeah. And also because of that kind of, it felt a little bit satanic, and the kind of the thing.
And Hugh Jackman's one of the detectives.
Yeah. I guess it could have worked like that. Yeah.
True Detective came out 2014.
I was just going to say real quick though, just about the way that tension is built. Real quick before we need to jump off, was the bit when he goes round to see the priest, and the priest is lying down on the ground, and he looks dead.
Oh, he's passed out.
Yeah, but that again, that's a reveal. So later on, he looks like he's had a heart attack or something. So then you've got the character breaks down the door without having a warrant, comes over and hears the guy snoring and he's passed out, and then it builds the tension. You hear the snoring, then you see the bottle of whiskey on the ground. So you put the pieces together and go, he's not dead, he's just drunk. And that's, again, the idea that he's drinking because he can't deal with the choices he's made. So there's loads of little elements of character building for a character that's unconscious now. Do you know what I mean? But it's a great bit of storytelling. Yeah. It's cool.
Yeah, I reckon this was definitely one that slipped under the radar that year.
What's everyone's whale rating? How many whales are we giving it?
7.9.
Ooh. I'm giving it 5, man. I'm giving it 5 whales out of 5.
That's why my grading's so much better, because everything's perfect to you guys. Everything's a 5.
Not everything's a 5. I did a 3.5 whales one time.
But to give it 5 means there's no movie better.
No, dude, that's not how 5-star
You don't
works.
understand
It is.
anything.
Dude, that's not how 5-star
You grade
works.
something.
5-star
You
is
grade something the highest mark. It means nothing can be better than it. That's pinnacle. That's top tier.
No, it means for the enjoyment or the kind of collective experience of that one film. How
I'm
did I
giving it
feel about that
7.9.
one
Doesn't
film?
quite get 8 for me. 7.9.
So James has given it 4 out of 5.
No.
I'm giving it 4.5 out of 5, and Drew is giving it 5 out of 5 whales.
I'm giving it a 79%, 85%. There we go. We'll go with that. We'll up it even more. 85. Let's do it. How
he's going 3.8 stars.
How do IMDb do it? Because they're like the benchmark of
They do
scoring.
10 stars, though, to be fair.
I don't care.
They do 10.
Oh, but everywhere else does 5.
Rotten Tomatoes, the second one does 100.
100
Yeah, we're
stars.
not doing out 100.
100%.
Anyway,
Okay,
we've got a guest coming on, so fuck you guys. Love you. That was a spoiler review. Hope you enjoyed, and we'll have
get 1
another
star.
spoiler review coming up soon. We haven't picked it yet, but we will. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
James, say something weird.
Did you hear about Chuckle Brothers? How their like lineage, their like timelines run out because they didn't have any kids.
Right?
Yeah.
I thought you were going to do the joke where he goes, to me.
Is that it?
No.
To me.
One of them got a vasectomy. One of them got a vasectomy.
All right. You can have that one.
That was
Right.
pretty good, to be fair.
Bye.
This has been Rage Whale. Thanks for hanging out with us. We hope you had a whale of a time.